A lot of people say that, you're very pessimistic, too pessimistic about the market. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just being pragmatic and realistic. That's why developers and agents, they don't like me. But do you know that every time when I'm optimistic, people also don't like me? I remember during the 2008 financial crisis, I was working as a department head in an IT MNC. And that's the time the company gave us a quota to cut the headcount in our department. So every department had a quota to cut the headcount. So during a lunch with other department heads, I was saying something like, oh, times are bad, so maybe it's time to look at the property market again. I remember they all look at me as if they just see ghosts. And that's complete silence. And after lunch, there's one department head talked to me in private. And she said, Rina, I think you're too stressed. Do you need some professional help to talk to someone? And that's also the time during the SARS period. I was sharing a flat with two other flatmates in a private home next to Tan Tock Seng Hospital. So nobody dared to come and visit us. So the government advised everybody to stay at home after work. But because of my passion in properties, I was feeling very itchy. So that's why I still continue to have flat viewings 10 to 15 times per month during the SARS period. And people found out about that. They said, hey, Rina, you don't know how to write the word of death in Chinese. Because you might be contacting SARS, by going everywhere. But personally, I feel that it's very safe going for flat viewing in SARS because 9 out of 10 times, I am the only one going for flat viewing. And the doors and windows are all open. It's only me, myself, and the property agent. So there's enough air circulation and fresh air. It is much safer than the thousands of people who fought to the SoFest that are not that ready to launch. Last year, on the evening of July the 5th, after queuing for hours for the SoFest to open for their turn, I'm sure that the person in front or behind you, even though it's sneezing or coughing or of TB, you're still unwilling to give up your seat, see? And it's much, much safer than the thousands of people who crowded at the preview or the launch at this kind of new projects. Because the chance of contacting germs, not finding germs, contacting germs or being infected by viruses or bacteria is much higher compared with the chance I get SARS when I go for flat viewing at that time in 2013. Human traffic is impassive. But what about the sales results? It seems that the heavy traffic at the preview weekend, with 9,000 going to this streetscape, but for the first viewing launch, the people who really give up the checks are not that many. So you only have like 3.3% of conversion rate from the preview traffic to the people actually put down the check. Same happens for those with impassive traffic at the preview weekend. Florence Residences, Park Como, Vivier, One Pearl Bank, Avenue Southwestern, same thing. Thousands of people flock over there. But what happened for the first weekend? They only managed to sell dozens of it or 100 to 200 of it, having a conversion rate of just 1.4 to 6.1%. And that is even before the number of returned units. It's because URA one day suddenly found that every month we have a lot of returned units. So even though they say the first weekend they sold a lot of them, but a lot of them are being returned. Then we realized that the options to purchase are not being exercised, but being reissued and reissued many times. So what happened? Maybe there are a lot of impulsive buyers who listen to agents saying that they can sell their HDB and buy 2 private properties, but suddenly realize that After they go back to check the numbers, they cannot afford it, or they cannot get approval by the bank for bank loans. They have no choice but to return the units and forfeit their deposits. So what happened to these projects with heavy traffic at the launch? What happened to them now? This is a table to show as of 1st of October, how many units are sold and unsold. Look at J-Scape. The first weekend launch happened more than a year ago. After a year, how many more units sold? 300 sold on the first weekend. Now, after 1 year, 468. That means 168 more units sold. And you still have 61% of units unsold. The same for the other projects. The percentage of units unsold ranges from 61% to 90%. So what's the point of rushing there during the first weekend launch? Because you never know what the developers will do later on. For the following year, it may secretly or slowly give discounts to the latecomers without you knowing, because they have a 5-year timeline to sell everything. They don't have a choice. So there is actually no reward for early birds. Do you know that for one of the new launch projects recently, they said the first weekend launch, they sold over 90% of the units. But they made the announcement on a Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. I was surprised because how can they accurately predict what will happen for the rest of the afternoon and that evening? How can they predict in advance how many units are sold for the whole weekend on a Sunday at 1 p.m.? So do they launch first or do they sell first? Do they wait until a portion of the units are sold and then they announce the preview and launch? So they launch first and sell first, or they sell first and launch first? Which one comes first? I'm really confused. It's just like you went to attend a wedding and you notice the bride is pregnant. So you wonder, is they have the marriage decision first or they are expecting a baby first? So which one comes first? So it will forever remain a mystery. Question: what are the similarities between going to the registry of marriage and going to the sales gallery in a new launch project? They both require you to sign on the dotted line. And after you sign, you don't realize that you are actually signing away your power to get things under control. In the ROM, after you sign on dotted line, you lost your freedom to control your lifestyle, your personal time, your diet, everything. In the sales gallery, after you sign on the dotted line, there are a lot of things suddenly not under your control. For example, discounts given by developers to new buyers, property prices, economic slowdown, interest rate hike, cooling measures. All these things in the past, they are irrelevant to you. Suddenly all come after you and but you. So what is the lesson learned? The lesson learned is when you go to the ROM or the sales gallery, just observe only the people exchange their vows and sign and give away the checks. Don't sign anything. Okay, that's the lesson learned. This is the chart to show new projects launch versus the take-up from first quarter of 2017 to second quarter of 2019. I have taken the data from the quarterly release from URA. If you notice that this red color bar shows the number of new units sold per quarter. Blue color line shows the number of units launched. If you notice that the cut-off time is somewhere around second quarter of 2018. Before that, you always have more new units sold compared with the units launched. But what happened now? You have far more new units launched compared with the take-up. the sale of new units. And we have another 53,000 new units in the pipeline. So it's going to take us many years to absorb that in the market, even if from tomorrow onwards the government not selling any land and developers not launching any new projects. But for this year, they are launching 50 to 60 new projects. So we have a lot more waiting and queuing to be launched. So be careful. Okay, how to tell gems from junks? Is fire sale a gem in the market? When you see the words fire sale, does that imply it is a gem? When we say fire sale in properties, we are implying that it's an urgent sale and the seller is distressed and definitely they need to have cash and then they were going to give you a heavy discount. But do you know there's any seller in the market who would prefer a slow sale? No, right? Everybody is fire sale. There's no slow sale in the market. If you look at those property advertisements, fire sale is probably the most misused word in those advertisements. Everywhere is fire sale. You see, this one is 280K below purchase price. Hey, excuse me, I just want to know how many thousands is it under the market value? Who cares how much the owner bought it for, right? So it's 280K below purchase price, has nothing to do with the buyer. It doesn't matter to the buyer at all. I just want to know how much you're going to slash your price. For me, the gems in the market are the ones who are rare, good quality properties. For where, I mean good location, well maintained, and good resident profile. And they are so much lower than the actual value. The valuation you can find the last few transactions in ULA of similar projects or in the same project, and it's much lower than that. And those gems, because you're talking about gems need to polished, and then you find it, and they become precious stones. So it is not noticeable. It is not like being advertised everywhere and everybody know about it. They won't be gems anymore because you need to do something with it before it can shine. For example, you need to go and fix it. You need to go there and change the tenant profile, and you need to go there to change the usage of it so that you will be able to increase the value. The gems are definitely not those after the government announced there's a new infrastructure plan or something new to be built. For example, new MRT lines. For the downtown line, remember it's announced in June 2005, and it doesn't start construction until 2011, and completion need another few years to be done. That means after the announcement, you have a lead time from announcement to construction, and there's another lead time from construction all the way to completion. But due to unforeseen circumstances, you have some projects delayed or some projects that can't even be completed. Like, for example, the high-speed rail and Singapore JB RTS link. They can't even decide when they're going to go ahead with it. For the recent one announced in August, the Greater Southern Waterfront, construction won't happen until 5 to 10 years later. And by the time it's fully completed, it will be sometime in 2040. 2040 is 21 years from now. How many economic or property cycles would happen in 20 years' time? And how many changes would happen in 20 years' time in your stage of your personal life cycle? So there's really no need to rush in the announcement. You buy into hype at that time, the developers are launching new projects, you are paying a premium. So you are not finding a gems or hidden gems or any future gems over there, but you are just benefiting whoever were launching at that time. And you will suffer the construction inconvenience later, in years to come, until the project completed. That's going to be many years to come, and the permission date is not under your control. I think I have mentioned a few times in my blog how to tell real property bargains from fake ones. And I'm going to recall from my book, No BS Guide to Property Investment, how you can tell the differences. I mentioned in one of the blog posts in 2003 to avoid buying anything in Iskandar, Malaysia, because we foresee what will be happened later. I'm going to summarize this into very easy 4 questions plus 2 number, 4Q, 2N, easier to remember. The 4Q is the first question. Who are the other buyers? To tell the difference between an investment opportunity and a lousy one is, you observe who are the ones signing up. Are they experienced investors, or are they laymen like you? Are they savvy property investor, or are they average Joe in the market? Did you check with Property Soul whether she's buying into that or not before you buy? The next question is, can you trust the country, the currency, and the developer? Would they compete in time and deliver with quality projects, or would they finish halfway and run away? The third question is, why are the locals not buying? If the opportunity is so good, why would they have the hustle to package it, go overseas and sell it to you? Why are the locals not stepping it up if it's so good? Last question is, next time when you want to sell it, do you notice there's a secondary market? Because there are a lot of properties in some countries and only selling to foreigners. The locals won't buy. Next time, if you want to sell it, can you get out of it? Because I'm sure that you won't want to hold the property forever. If you hold the property forever and not able to sell, whether the prices go up and that have nothing to do with you, because you can't sell and you can't get out of it. The 2 N's, the 2 numbers, first one is valuation. Is this above or below valuation? Very easy to check, just check the transaction. For this market, I recommend you to check at least the last 15 years so that you notice that at the bad times, what's the valuation? And then you'll know whether the market is actually near the boom, near the peak, or at the bottom. The most important number over here is the net ROI. You can calculate the cash on cash return or the net return. If there's no net return, that means the revenue, you get it, the rental revenue, and after deduct all the expenses, the figure is negative. What is the point of buying into it? You might as well spend it on your favorite overseas vacation, sports car, or something nice to reward yourself, rather than suffering for the chance of losing money for buying a property. Because you lose money in properties, it hurts your pride. I have a few blog posts over here that talk about property investment tricks and all the traps in this market. I'm going to summarize into 2 things. Do you know how to tell the differences between bad property salesperson and good salespeople? Bad salespeople will push you to buy, make money from you, and run away. Good salespeople will let you see both sides of the coins, the pros and the cons. And then he will tell you what you can or cannot buy in a market. And they'll leave the decision up to you whether you want to buy or not. How to tell differences between scammers and savvy investors? Scammers will be satisfied if they get ignorant people believe in their lies. Savvy investors are not satisfied with seeing the ignorant people believe in them. They will only be satisfied if they find people who are smarter than them, or at least as smart as them, to inspire them with new ideas. Or the other way around, to make them inspired with new ideas by themselves. Okay? Let me summarize my presentation this afternoon. Finding gems in these property markets. I'm going to summarize with 3 L's. First L is look. Look when nobody is looking. It's just like gold rush last time. If you go where everybody is trying to find the gold nuggets in the sand, you're not going to find any. Why? Because all the gold nuggets would have been gone. You should go to a place that nobody has been there before and is not noticeable, and you'll be able to find your gold. The second advice is listen. Listen to the white party. The white party I just mentioned, it means the government. It's not listening to the media, the developers, the agents, or the banks, or the analysts. Listen to the government and get the hint. The last advice is, for L, is laze around for the right time. Because to win in a property game, the secret is to be there at the right time and buy the right thing at the right price. So that's summarize my presentation today, and thank you very much.